Okay, so we're talking about suppressors again today. This will be the second suppressor related video I've made this week, but it's important because they're in the news right now. If you don't know, the CEO of United Healthcare was gunned down in New York a week ago from the time of filming this video, and the person who did it, Luigi Mangione, supposedly used not only a 3D printed gun, but also a 3D printed suppressor. Now, the gun itself obviously isn't going to be entirely 3D printed. They don't word things like that very well in the news because they don't know better, or they're trying to scare people. But realistically, if his gun was 3D printed, it was just the lower half that was 3D printed. You know, you usually have to buy like a complete upper in order to make a homemade weapon like that. But anyways, the suppressor that he used was 3D printed. And the reason why I wanted to talk about this is because I personally have made a 3D printed suppressor that I have legally registered with the ATF by doing a Form 1. So let me start off just by saying, first and foremost, do not make a homemade suppressor. If you don't want the ATF to come kicking down your door, do not make a homemade suppressor, especially now. With everything that's happened, it is a bad idea. However, to go about it legally, the first step is go to the ATF's website, you fill out a Form 1, which includes, giving a breakdown of what you're going to make, how you're going to make it, the materials you're going to use, blah, blah, blah. You do the Form 1, you pay the $200 tax stamp, and then you wait a couple of days, and it'll get approved. Once it's approved, then you are legally allowed to go get the materials that you need, assemble the suppressor, and attach a serial number. If you do any of those things before you have the Form 1, you are committing a felony, and it's a bad day. Okay, you don't want to get involved in that particular, whatever. I'm just, like I said, this isn't legal advice. I'm not trying to tell you what to do. I'm just telling you, don't try to make a homemade suppressor unless you're going to go about it the legal way, which I did. This right here, this is the exact same suppressor that Luigi Mangione used on the CEO of United Healthcare. The difference is this one was made, like I showed you, legally with a Form 1. This is registered. This is serialized. I can have this. I can take this to a range. Nobody can, say anything to me about it. This is a legal device. And these things are incredibly easy to make. If you have a 3D printer at home, you've already got almost everything that you need. The core of this is 3D printed, and then it is wrapped in a carbon fiber sleeve, and then epoxy goes over the carbon fiber, is impregnated into the carbon fiber. Basically, you want to do multiple layers of carbon fiber sleeving, to maximize the strength. But the reason why these work is because, and this is printed in PLA+, this isn't some special engineering material. The reason why these work and they don't just pop as soon as you shoot something through them is because all of the strength comes from this outer shell, which, like I just described, is carbon fiber. You can also use fiberglass. But the strength comes from the fact that this is a composite suppressor. If you just 3D printed a suppressor and you didn't have the composite on the outside, it's either going to pop right away or it's going to have a very short service life. There are technically some 3D printed suppressors out there that don't require using, the wrap and the epoxy, but you're only going to get away with that for smaller calibers like 22. Okay. This particular suppressor is for my 1911, so this has been used almost exclusively for 45 caliber rounds up until now, it's all just been pistol rounds. And the crazy thing about it is, like, performance-wise, these sound exactly the same as the metal suppressors. Like, these aren't louder. These are actually maybe even slightly quieter than a metal suppressor, just because these are usually larger. But the longevity of the suppressor is going to depend entirely on what you're putting through it. Since that one is basically only ever going to see 45, because the thread adapter that I have on there makes it so that I can't really switch it to other guns. It's kind of inconvenient without getting more adapters. But since that one's pretty much exclusively going to see 45, it will essentially last as long as a regular suppressor. Like, I don't have to worry about this having a shorter lifespan than a metal suppressor necessarily, just because a pistol round is going to have a lot less pressure than a rifle round. But I say that to say that you can also make these for rifles. You don't just have to make these and use them on pistol rounds. You know, like you can make these and run them on 7.62, 5.56, 300 blackout. There's a lot of different options out there for 3D printed suppressors. But like I said, the higher the pressure of the round that you're using through the suppressor, the quicker you're going to reach the end of its service life. Which, you know, with suppressors, legally speaking, you're not allowed to service your own suppressor. So, like, let's say, for instance, that suppressor started to wear out. I am not legally allowed to repair it. If I wanted it to be repaired, I would have to take it to someone who is, you know, licensed to, I can't remember, it's like a SOT or something like, there's a specific type of armor that, you know, is not going to be at your just run-of-the-mill gun shop. And they're going to have to be the ones that do any sort of maintenance on the suppressor. You're allowed to clean your suppressors and stuff like that. Like if you have one where you can take it apart and pull the baffles out, you're allowed to clean it. But if you have a baffle strike, for instance, you're not allowed to repair those baffles. You got to send it back to the manufacturer and have them do it. So technically, with this type of suppressor, I'm not allowed to fix it if it breaks. But with how cheap it is to make it at home versus buying one from, you know, any one of the manufacturers, realistically, if this thing ever got worn out, I would just do another tax stamp and make a fresh one. But like I said, because this particular suppressor is only ever going to see 45, this particular suppressor is probably going to last forever, realistically, just because I don't shoot thousands of rounds of 45. You know, 45 is expensive, and I just, like I said, I don't shoot that much of it. So realistically, that suppressor is going to last forever. But yeah, I wanted to talk about suppressors again, just because I thought it was very interesting that the guy used this exact suppressor. I mean, it's wild to see where things have come. I mean, you know, when I first found this particular, this is called the FTN3. Okay, so if you want to go look that up, by all means, go ahead and look that up. You know, you can find, there's a website called Odyssey, and that's where a lot of, you know, the files for this kind of stuff are going to be hosted. Like, you're not just going to be able to necessarily Google this and find it. Well, I guess maybe you could. It's been around long enough. You might actually just be able to Google FTN3 and find an STL. But don't just find the files. Find the README, okay? The person who designed this did a lot of work to make sure to include very good instructions on how to make them. So make sure if you're looking for this particular file, make sure that you find one that comes with the README so that you can go through. It's a big, long PDF, gives you very specific and detailed instructions on how to make it. You definitely want to follow the instructions when you're making something like this because, you know, for longevity's sake. But, and again, I'm going to reiterate, if you make a suppressor, don't do it until you have completed the paperwork. It is so easy now to do the paperwork. It is not worth it to try to make one without the paperwork. Obviously, Luigi had different ideas. You know what I'm saying? Don't be like Luigi and make it yourself without doing the paperwork, because especially now that this thing has happened, I'm sure the ATF is going to be itching to kick people's doors down who are, you know, if they find out you're doing the wrong thing. But like I said, all you got to do is you just got to go online, fill it out. I'm probably about to do another one just because it's easy. I want to do it now before, like, I don't know if this whole thing with, you know, with that CEO getting whacked, I don't know if, you know, they're going to make the wait times long again, but the wait times for suppressors literally went from being like, it used to take you a year potentially to get approved for a suppressor, maybe longer. So the wait times were atrocious, and the wait times by themselves kept most people from even considering buying a suppressor. But over the last, I think it's like a year and a half ago, the wait times went down to almost nothing. Like I said, you can literally get approved same day. Like if you have a super squeaky clean record, and like, let's say, you know, it'll probably help if you're a concealed carry holder. Like maybe you've bought a couple guns in the last few months and you've had a bunch of background checks done, like, but you could potentially get approved instantly to get one of these suppressors, which is just unbelievable. Like, if you're someone who's been into suppressors for a while, the fact that you can get one this fast is truly unbelievable. But like I said, I'm probably about to do another Form 1, and I'm probably about to make another one of these because I just want to take advantage of these short wait times while they still exist. I'm not saying that the short wait times are about to get longer. I'm just saying that, like, this is always how things go. You know, someone does something that they're not supposed to do, and then the gun nuts come out of the woodwork and try to or the anti-gun nuts come out of the woodwork and try to take your stuff away. You know what I'm saying? We've seen it a million times. You know, like, think about how many times assault rifles have been banned, like AR-15s specifically. Like, when I was in the Marine Corps, I bought an AR-15 from a gun show. It was only like $400 or $500. It was cheap. And then a couple of months later, there was that gigantic freaking ban on AR-15s, and you know, because it happened once in the 90s, and then it happened again in the 2000s. And as soon as that happened, you know, my $500 AR all of a sudden is worth $1,500. You know, because you just can't get them the same. But I hope this doesn't happen. I hope that what happened has no effect on the wait times. I hope that the wait times continue to be low. Here's the thing. My conspiracy theory is that the wait times went down because the ATF is, you know, concerned about whether or not the NFA is going to exist forever. You know, I think that the long wait times were shortened in order for them to start powering through as many tax stamps as they could before, you know, somebody comes along and repeals the NFA. I mean, maybe that's wishful thinking. I don't know. Like I said, I hope that they stay short, and they are short right now. So I'm probably going to take advantage of this again because, like I said, it's super easy. All I have to do is go onto the ATF's website. I've already got my profile made or whatever. Type in all the stuff. There's entire guides on the internet that you can follow step by step to make sure that you're filling out the application properly. It's not that hard. You know, the most confusing part for most people is probably going to be, you know, finding out, you know, who your LEO is, your law enforcement officer or whatever, for where your particular municipality or county or whatever. Because when you do a Form 1 or a Form 4, your LEO gets notified that you're doing it, basically. Depending on where you are, 90% of them don't care. It's just like a formality. It's not even a requirement for them to respond or anything like that. Like, you don't have to wait for the LEO to approve it. It's just, it is a legal requirement that they get notified. So, like I said, I personally am probably going to do it again here pretty soon. Actually, I'll probably do it this weekend. Just to, you know, have another tax stamp so I can make another one of these suppressors, because I don't know what's about to happen. I hate to think so negatively about the situation, and I hate to speculate on the idea that maybe these you know, super short wait times are going to go away. But I do know for sure that I'm going to take advantage of them while they're here. I mean, I would like to just buy a regular suppressor, but dude, they're so expensive, and it's crazy because wait times are shorter than ever, and the way that these suppressor companies handled wait times going down is they made all of their prices go up, which is just absolute garbage. They're selling more suppressors now than they've ever sold, which means the economies of scale should be working in the customer's favor at this point. But instead, every single suppressor manufacturer decided to be extremely greedy with these shortened wait times, and they all jacked their prices up. So even though they should be able to lower their prices by producing more suppressors, you know, like it. Anyways, going off on a different tangent there. That's the reason why I want to, you know, why I make them myself, because it's cheaper. That suppressor right here, this bad boy is like $20 in material, you know, and you could do it for even less. I mean, this is $20 worth of material because I use carbon fiber, which is a little bit more expensive. But if you use fiberglass, it's even cheaper. It's probably like $10 in material. The most expensive part is just getting the tax stamp. And $200 out the door for a suppressor. That ain't bad. Also, that same the FTN project, if you find the most current files, it's not just pistol suppressors. I mean, there's files for pistols, for all different calibers of rifle, and even just as over the last couple of months, someone added a shotgun suppressor to the project. So legitimately, you can suppress just about any weapon with a 3D printed core and some fiberglass and epoxy. It's a crazy time to be alive, but if you like guns like I do, it's an amazing time to be alive. So anyways, that's really all I wanted to talk about. I just wanted to I just thought it was like super crazy that the specific suppressor that guy used, it just happens to be the exact same suppressor that I have sitting here in my house. The only difference is that mine was legal and his obviously wasn't. Also, actually, there's another interesting thing that apparently the girl who reported him from McDonald's, that McDonald's employee, there's reports going around that McDonald's got review bombed and the girl had to quit her job because everybody knew she worked there. And apparently she's not even getting paid. Because I guess the reason why she decided to turn the guy in was because there was some customers in the restaurant that recognized him and said, hey, that looks like the guy. And so she called 911 instead of calling the tip line. So apparently to get the money to get the reward for reporting somebody to the tip line, the $50,000, you have to call the tip line. If you call the 911 to make the report, you don't get any money. So she played herself. She wasn't doing it for the right reasons anyway. She was really just trying to get rich. And I mean, I don't really want to go into the politics of the situation, whether, it's right or wrong. Obviously, it's wrong to do that, but it's one of those things where it's like, I'm not going to lose sleep at night over that situation because, I mean, yeah, obviously it should be illegal for people to do stuff. It is illegal for people to do what he did, but it should also be illegal for a healthcare system to exist where you pay every single month and then you get hurt and all of a sudden the health insurance company is able to deny your claim. You know what I mean? Like, healthcare shouldn't be something that can potentially ruin your life financially. Like both of those things should be like, if our healthcare system wasn't so messed up, that CEO would still be around. You know what I'm saying? If that CEO hadn't been using AI to deny over 80% of the claims, like, he wouldn't have gotten murked outside of his hotel or wherever he was. But like I said, it's not good. I'm not condoning it. Like I said, I'm not going to lose sleep over it either. You know what I mean? It would be like, imagine if we lived when Hitler was still, killing millions of people. If some vigilante was able to get to him before the Allied forces were, you know what I'm saying? Nobody's like, oh, that's illegal. Now, obviously, the CEO of the healthcare company is not Hitler. That's a bad comparison. But the CEO of a healthcare company that's denying people claims and directly causing thousands, potentially tens of thousands of deaths, that's a lot of human life lost because of a CEO that wants to make sure he's making millions of dollars, as opposed to taking care of the people who are giving him those millions of dollars, So, I don't know. Anyways, this is a new channel, so I'm here to beg you to like and subscribe. I've only been on YouTube now for a couple of months. I think I'm averaging about a video a week at this point, but I'm trying to come up with more ideas so that I can do more than one video a week. So yeah, if you like the video, do me a favor and hit the like button. Do me a favor and hit the subscribe button. Doesn't cost you nothing, and if you hate me eventually, you can just unsubscribe. Yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one.